Thank you so much for joining the Dr. Whisperer podcast show. I am your host, Sharon Feckety, and you are here to listen to others talk about the business of medicine. Don't forget to subscribe, share it with somebody else that is in the business of medicine so we can all learn together. Thank you for being here and enjoy the show. Welcome to the Dr. Whisperer show, everybody. Very proud to have this wonderful physician, CEO, insurance advisor, all the things, woman, badass, here with me. Dr. Stephanie Pearson is here to tell a really great story and to help some of y'all that might be listening or watching. So welcome to the show, Dr. Pearson.
Thank you. Please call me Stephanie. I'm honored to be part of your show.
Okay, doctor, I'm only going to throw that out because you spent a long time in medical school and I'm quite sure might still be paying off loans. So I'm kidding, but
I actually got them paid off the summer of 2020.
It was the summer of 2020. Wow, that's a big deal. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Some people are 109 and they're still paying them off. So a very fascinating story that absolutely I won't be telling Dr. Pearson. I'm going to keep doing it because you deserve that title. Dr. Pearson deserves to tell the story and will tell it better than I. But you are currently the CEO of a company called PearsonRavitz, founded in Philadelphia in 2017. Not because you thought you'd be doing that while you were training to become an OBGYN, but hey, that's what life does. It gives us all these shifts and turns. So please let us know how you came to what you are this very moment, and we'll get into it.
Yeah, so it was definitely not the, trying to get out of medicine, trying to find something else. It truly came out of life experiences. I was called down to the labor floor to do a precipitous delivery. Actually, a lovely, lovely patient of mine. I had delivered 3 of her other children. Baby number 4 should have just fallen out. Unfortunately, she was unable to get her epidural. It's called labor, not a walk in the park. And unfortunately, she was kind of climbing up the bed while we were trying to have a baby. Historically, I have been known maybe to raise my voice, tell somebody, have your baby, I'll fix the carnage. But unfortunately, I looked down and the baby's heart rate was tanked and crowning. So I knew I could get the kid out. I had 6 nurses in the room helping me get her in position. As I put the vacuum on to help guide the baby out, just as I started getting the head out, I got kicked the first time. The kick was right to my brachial plexus. My arm went numb, instant tears, shifted my body thinking I was doing myself a favor. And as I got the baby's widest part of the abdomen out, I got kicked a second time. Actually, 2 of my nurses also got hurt. And the second kick kind of came across my shoulder and I felt something. I started crying. I put the baby on her belly, left the room, called my partner down to finish the delivery. Long story short, torn labrum. My first orthopedist was less than empathetic, used not so nice words, but said that I was being a blank that professional baseball pitchers pitched with torn labrums. So I should be able to do my job.
Wow.
So
was it a man?
Yes.
Thank you.
So like most of us who have trouble advocating for ourselves, put my head down, figured out how to compensate, and did my job until I couldn't do my job. My last day was 8 months later. I got called to do a
practice
section
for 8 months.
Mm-hmm. And my husband was helping me get dressed. I was buying bras that clipped in the front because I couldn't snap them in the back. I mean, that may be TMI, but I have no secrets.
That's okay. We like it here.
You know, and I got called to do a section. Patient that had been pushing for a really long time. I got into the OR and my first assist told me that they had never done a section. And I just couldn't get my left arm to do what I needed it to do. Started to cry, not very, I have word finding problems sometimes.
It's okay.
You know, I have an awake patient, so crying at the table is not a good thing. Called down one of my partners, stat, to finish the delivery and was like, this is not ethical. If it had been 2:00 in the morning instead of 2:00 in the afternoon, I would have gotten that kid out. I mean, I've never been beaten by a kid, but I would have probably had to tee up her uterus and I would have made her an obstetric invalid, not Mother Nature, not her body. It truly would have been my fault.
Right.
And that is not the doctor, the surgeon that I wanted to be known as. I was the doc that people sent hard cases to. The OR was my happy place. And my life drastically changed. So August 3rd, 2013, not that I'm counting, it'll be 10 years soon that I'm away from clinical medicine. And unfortunately, I learned a lot the hard way about disability insurance, life insurance, kind of how physicians treat each other. And I found out that our group insurance policy for our hospital in fine print didn't cover work-related injuries.
Let's take a pause. I feel like I need to take a big old breath after just hearing what you went through, let alone going through such a traumatic incident where you have, I'm sure, dreamed of doing this job your whole life and
forever.
Right. I mean, like every physician I've ever worked with, it's like, oh, that's like they were built to help people. And then they choose a specialty and spend so many years in college and take away so much time from families and events and miss out. And then you're practicing and then this happens. And then, you know, just when you think it couldn't get any worse, kaboom.
It got a lot worse.
So let me ask you before we get into how horrible it is in this industry, more times than I would like to admit. The stories in the reality show that we could make, that's not ER, right? That isn't just a lot of good looking doctors running around with actors saying things like radiculopathy that they just learned. You know, let me ask you how you were I mean, it's pretty obvious how you were feeling, but this must have taken a huge toll, just the incident that happened. And then we'll get to the next part. I don't want to miss it.
So there were a couple of parts to it, right? The initial injury, I kind of beat myself up, right? I mean, I had this orthopedist tell me that, you know,
your big old baby.
I was,
pull up your bootstraps. Let's go.
And so I really started just beating myself up, right?
Comparing you to a professional athlete too, which is laughable.
Right. Who's getting paid millions, who, if there's a problem, nobody dies. Right. And I think oftentimes across all specialties, once we get into our chosen specialty, I don't know if it's Mother Nature or what, but we tend to forget what other people do. Right. And I'm not sure why that happens, but it does. And, you know, I found myself wanting to be like, do you remember your OB rotation? Right. Do you remember how much surgery there is? Right. I'm not just catching babies. Right. And
you're bringing a human life into the world. Right? Like, how much more legit can you get?
And I could probably do a normal spontaneous vaginal delivery today. But it's the complications, right? That's what makes physicians physicians. It's not the bread and butter. It's not the normal stuff. it's the, can you fix a problem, right?
Yeah.
If there's an emergency, can you do what you need to do? And I got to the point of, would you want me delivering your wife, your sister, your best friend, your wife, right? But somehow I internalized it and I wasn't strong enough, right? And I talk about the tyranny of perfection that exists in medicine a lot. Mm-hmm. We hold ourselves to a different standard, right? Yes. Personally and as a community. Mm-hmm. And so I just pushed through, right? And as I was getting closer to the end, I was like, I don't know how long I can do this. What the fuck am I going to do if I don't? Oh, sorry. Jesus.
Don't apologize. We say fuck a lot here.
I'm like a trucker. I'm
from New York.
Great. South Jersey. And I'm like, what am I going to do? What am I able to do? Like, I'm this overeducated, underemployable, right? And that was part of my pushing through. I was the primary breadwinner and my kids didn't ask for this. And you go through this weird web of, what's going to happen next. So that was kind of that 8-month period when it really came to an end. And I don't want this to come off trite. I truly lost my identity.
Yeah.
I didn't change my name when I got married, right? So I was Dr. Pearson.
Right.
That's it. Mm-hmm. I lost a lot of my hobbies after I had kids, which I think happens to parents all the time. Mm-hmm. So that's what I was. It's who I was, right? I lost that, and I was seeing a therapist. I mean, I started every day. I remember picking up my son at preschool and overhearing somebody say, Jacob, what does your mom do? And he said, she used to be a doctor. And that was my low. I mean, I just sat in the car and cried. And
I just got chills. My heart.
I went home. I wrote letters to my kids. I wrote a letter to my husband. I had a plan. I thought I was worth more to them dead financially, which I was. I couldn't see past the dollars. And finding out that I got denied my group insurance, workman's comp initially denied me. We'll get there in a few minutes.
Yeah.
But my husband brought home a puppy. And I thought it was I hated him for it. I now love him.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
He said, the boys and I are clearly not enough. You can either be surrounded by filth because you're taking care of this dog, or you can get out of your own way and start taking care of something again.
Wow.
And to say that I found my identity at the dog park.
I love it.
But I did.
Yeah, good.
As Dr. Pearson, I was Kim's mom. I mean, I was nobody, right?
What's your dog's name?
Kimber. Well, her real name is Kimber, but we call her Kim.
Okay. I love it. It's like a regular name. It's like Kim. Larry.
So I was really Kim's mom, right? Like, people know all the dogs' names at the dog park. And I was able to get out of my own way and take her on long walks and start kind of coming out of that darkness. And to this day, I credit my husband and the dog for saving my life.
Yeah. Beautiful.
So that was a long journey and it took years for me. I mean, realistically, it wasn't like, go to the dog park, find yourself. Right. But
just so everybody knows, we will be sharing that story on the Broken Road to Mental Health podcast soon. So stay tuned for that one. But, I want to honor that space for you for a moment because I have been there, not in the same story, and it wasn't a dog. I have one now, though, and I just was talking to my physician client in New York City, and she was actually saying the words, if I've done nothing else, I've been a great dog mom. You know what I mean? And I thought it was so beautiful because I, of course, am like, Dad, you're an integrative medicine physician on Park Avenue and all that. It's just the dogs, man. The dogs are amazing. Maybe we'll do a dog podcast show. Who knows? One day.
So Kimber's a bull mastiff, so not small. Oh my God. And then we adopted a 3-legged pit. So I will agree with that, Doc, that if I am nothing but a good dog mom,
right.
I've served my purpose.
But then everybody, the plot twist turns. Right. And so what I don't think, which I love what you're doing now, along with being the dog mom, the mom, the wife, all the things, that you have turned this horrific experience into helping others, right? So I think that the best businesses that I have known, including my own, is when it is a pain, purpose, passion, and now you really get to help people in a totally different way. So what most people don't understand, and this is why you've created this company, is disability insurance, workers' compensation, especially if you are the practicing physician. You don't understand how difficult it is, right? I'm sure there's a lot of different nuances that you might have felt now, even for the billing team, like referrals. And I mean, because I worked at New York Medical and workers' comp was huge. And I had to teach my team to not be great at getting something approved, but hanging up until you get a better person, a better human being on the phone. Like it's so time consuming.
And I went through that. I mean, it was a 14-month lawsuit before I settled. I mean, and I settled because I was not in a good mental place, because workman's comp, and it was really interesting. I say interesting, but
fucked up.
My hospital group policy didn't pay because they said it was work related, and in fine print, the policy said they didn't cover work-related injuries. So I was like, okay, well, workman's comp will pay for it, right?
Right.
But then workman's comp said, well, the injury occurred, but your frozen shoulder was idiopathic or your fault because you kept working.
Oh my God.
So I actually had to sue for that. 3 court appearances. I had never been in court as an obstetrician. And at one of them, there's actually a human being whose job it is to figure out what you can do, right? And as physicians, we're really educated and really skilled. And he looked me dead in the face and said that I could be a billing secretary making $18 an hour because I had the aptitude to learn codes. Mm-hmm. I can't make it up. I mean, I'm not that devious. I literally sat there in tears and literally said to my lawyer, just make this go away.
Every doctor listening or watching knows that your traditional insurance only goes so far. Your malpractice only goes so far. So there's real risks that can actually keep you up at night. You know that. I know that. I've watched you stressed out the next day from all of these insurance issues. Well, SRA 831B admin helps you mitigate these risks and lower your tax liability by putting money into a vehicle that is tax advantage to self-insure risks that fall out of your traditional property and casualty insurance. I would not have them as a sponsor if I did not believe 100% that they can actually help you. So to find out more information, please check out the website that is in the show notes. Contact them today. I promise you won't regret it.
So again, didn't really advocate for myself, in case you're seeing a theme here. And I settled. And I just wanted
who could blame you
to be done.
Yeah, who could blame you?
Right?
Mm-hmm. It's not worth it. It's too taxing.
Yeah.
You go out of your mind.
Yeah.
You'd be writing another note.
Yeah. And so, we had the hard family conversation of what was going to be next. Now, I did have 2 private policies that I got my first year as an attending because my senior partner told me to.
Right.
I didn't understand what I had. It was complete ignorance. Like
Yeah.
I don't remember being educated. I don't remember being advocated for. One of my policies had no bells and whistles. One of my policies didn't have the right language. And to this day, every month, I have to hand in my financials. And it is a constant reminder that I'm not practicing. And don't get me wrong, my life is fine now. It's probably better than fine. I sleep in my own bed every night. I very rarely miss dinner.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought I was going to die at the OR table. Yeah. Like I thought I was going to be that octogenarian who, you know, the young nurse was like, Dr. Pearson, maybe it's time
to go.
You know what I mean? Maybe it's time.
Right.
You know, I didn't think that my career, the life I thought I was going to have, was going to end at 40. Right. Yeah. So
the baby.
It's depending on the day. And I'm sure you feel this way, right? You have good days and bad days. I don't work on August 3rd. You know, typically when I tell my story, and the more I tell my story, the easier it gets. Yeah. I still have bad days, you know, but what I started to do, and I think, again, this goes back to our like type A, I wanted to read everything I could get my hands on and be like, how did I, but it was still blaming myself. How did I let this happen? Right. I'm smart. What? Right. So I started reading everything I could about disability insurance, about life insurance, started lecturing to area residency programs more out of true altruism and to help me get over it, kind of. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want them making the same mistakes I made. Mm-hmm. And I felt like, you know, okay, maybe this happened for a reason. Maybe this is what I was supposed to be doing next. And eventually people started asking for my help. And then I was like, well, I'm not licensed. And my husband was like, well, maybe you should be.
Right. So what does your husband do?
So he is now our CFO, but by training, he is a critical care nurse. He helped start Temple's flight program 20 years ago.
Oh, beautiful.
So yeah, we met over one of my dying patients. You know, we have that whole backstory.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just like I'm a big fan because he got you a dog.
Yeah.
Let's just go back to that. Like, how did he get that smart? How did he get so emotionally connected? Oh, nurse. Got it.
Yep. Right. Yeah. He's used to taking care of doctors. We joke about it all the time.
Oh, love him. Shout out to your husband.
Me too. And so, yeah, so I locked myself in a room with my colored pens and pencils because I'm a dork, and went and took the test.
You're such a doctor.
And then cried in my car because I didn't get an A. And my husband and my now business partner, two different men, laughed at me. And they were like, Stephanie, did anyone ever ask you what you got on your boards? They're never going to ask you what you got on your insurance test. But we don't stop being who we are. Sure. Right. Yeah. So years and years of therapy, still go, by the way.
Thank God, me too.
Therapy and pharmacology. Right. So fast forward, I get licensed, create an LLC. My husband did all the back work. I mean, yeah, he's amazing. And PearsonRavitz will be 6 years old in June. And we now have 25 full-time employees.
Amazing. I know. I looked at your website. I'm like, it's never ending. And it's beautiful diversity throughout your company. I was so proud. I'm like, oh, who is this? Who are you?
And you know, I'm just trying to change the face of insurance. We lead with education. I think that's part of why we've been successful. Yeah. I truly care about education and service. And anybody could sell this stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
I was asked to be an insurance broker, and I said I would rather stick a needle in my eye. But,
right.
you know, if I had that passion, if I had something personally that had happened to me and I knew that I could help somebody else, I totally understand why you would want to do this.
Yeah. I mean, if I could shout from rooftops, I mean, I try to lecture as often as I can and talk at conferences, and, it changes so rapidly and there are so many nuances, and unless somebody's really explaining it, it's confusing. I mean, the biggest thing is there's no standardization of language in insurance, which is mind-boggling, but I think it's on purpose to keep people confused. And so, it's not just, here's a spreadsheet, pick the cheapest one. Like that's, there are things that are important for one person that aren't important for another person. And there's differences by state. There's differences by what you do. There's differences in your health history. And thankfully, I have that knowledge, right? So we do a lot of the front work and ask a lot of medical questions, because part of why we wanted to start the company was also to manage realistic expectations. I hate getting phone calls where somebody says, I applied through somebody else and I got declined. And then I ask 3 questions and I'm like, well, duh, they wasted your time and they may have really screwed you, right? I'm not Mother Teresa. I have been able to advocate for people in a way that other people can't, but I can't fix everything, right? And so it's really important to me that other physicians don't make the same mistakes I made.
Oh my goodness. I mean, you should listen to my last interview with Dr. Mudgill, who is a New York City dermatologist, who I think dropped the F-bomb more times than anybody. You did?
I did.
Good. Because he's so angry at insurance companies, which is evident, right? But, speaking up and speaking out and having an advocate and having somebody that understands and can guide you is so important. Like, I don't know how anybody navigates through healthcare, through insurance today without knowing. When you're talking about disability, I was thinking, I was running a practice many, many years ago. And, we had the standards that we would give to our physicians. Anytime a new partner would come on, I talked to them about their disability. I didn't even know what I was talking about.
I'm sure.
I was like, this is a great policy. I just listened to
somebody told you that.
Yeah, so of course, it's the best policy. This is great. You have this as a perk.
And I bet it wasn't.
Oh, I bet it was horrible. I bet my own is horrible. Are you kidding me? And really, and what you said is so true, right? It's it reminds me of, I have a malpractice attorney friend, and he taught me many years ago ATFQ, because my doctors always like to tell a story instead of answering the fucking question, right? And if you don't know the right answers to the questions, which is what you were making note of, you could really screw yourself.
Well, oftentimes you don't even know the right questions to ask.
True.
Right? Let alone knowing the right answer.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Nobody teaches us this stuff. I think it's gotten better, right? I mean, I was in training 20 some odd years ago, right? Nobody taught us about this stuff. I do think that financial literacy is finally starting to get talked about more in the physician space, but there's still a long way to go.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of predatory salespeople out there, and that's what we're trying to change.
So are you a nationally based company? Do you work with clients out of state?
Yes.
Obviously, you don't just work with doctors, but you, I'm sure, have a huge demographic of physicians.
Yeah, we have clients in all 50 states, while we market to and focus on physicians, because that's my people. We are also well aware that they're married to non-physicians and have siblings that are non-physicians. So we can take care of anybody. And we do. You know, you don't have to be an MD or a DO to work with us. We take care of mid-levels. You name it. I mean, we have people.
I think it's advanced level now.
Sorry,
No. Listen, somebody had to tell me abruptly. Yeah. That's why I say it a little nicer. I was like,
what are they now? APPs, advanced.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sorry, I've been out a lot. I'll blame ignorance on that one.
It's all good.
Yeah. So
we're all learning.
Yeah, we started. I remember my kids. They were 4 and 6 when I got hurt. And I often joke that I used to say I'd give my left arm to be home with my kids more. Turns out I gave my left arm to be home with my kids more. And after 6 weeks, wanted to kill everybody. But we did, when we decided that we were going to start this company, I remember the boys asking for a map of the United States. Yeah. And we used little push pins. And every time we got a new client, we put a little sticky, and we very quickly outgrew the little stickies.
Yes.
Cool.
Good for you.
I mean, it's really exciting and learning a lot on the fly. There was a lot of gut and hustle.
Sure.
We finally brought in a business coach about 1.5 years ago. This year, we finally made the investment in a marketing person. So, you know, the other kind of piece of that for folks listening about starting companies, right? Like, it's not an overnight success. You know, sometimes people will say, you know, oh my God, you've gotten so successful so fast. And I'm like, well, first of all, there's a difference between revenue and profit.
Yes.
And it's really hard being responsible for so many people. It's a different feeling than being responsible for your patients. It's really weird.
It is very weird. I would say, well, yes. I mean, there's a reason why I gave up recruiting, even though as a consultant, it was the highest generating revenue, like of all of my, like a la cartes that I used to do, you know, recruit when a doctor would say, can you recruit for me? I'm like, oh God. So I would just include battle pay.
Hey.
Because that's how it felt. I felt like I was going to war every time. And then managing the humans, well, it led me to leaving.
Right.
And creating my own space. It's very difficult, you know, being a business owner. Everybody has all of these ideas of what it's like. You don't know until you're doing it. And you also don't know how to do it until you're actually doing it. So, right. Good that you learn you learn through practice, you learn through mistakes. And then when the profit, which is actually the smartest way to do it, it's like you build a business, doctors, if you're listening, make a few mistakes and bring on somebody to help you. Now, if you did that before, imagine the magic that would happen. But you know, we learn, and then you already know like how everything works and how it's managing a lot of people, which tends to be the hardest thing. So if I could, you know, if we could give some feedback to help the audience, what pain points usually get people to call your firm?
There's a couple. I mean, for the more experienced physician, it's usually having a friend or colleague who gets jammed up.
Okay.
And then they're calling me saying, my partner just had a heart attack. I need this, or what I have, is it good? Right. Because I do a fair amount of auditing. I am glad that, you know, I have the opportunity to lecture to a lot of residents and trainees. And so a lot of people come to us from those lectures because I give a ton of information in a short period of time. We have, you know, utilized social media. And I think that's been incredibly helpful for us.
Good.
And then I, you know, on the back end, I do a lot of work with disabled physicians. I have, I guess it's called a secret Facebook group called Physicians for Physicians, which is...
Or just private, like it's not like secret.
I think it's like, I don't think you can find it unless friends or something. I don't know how all that works, but
okay, good.
It's just for physicians who, because of injury or illness, have had to change their scope of practice or leave medicine, because I felt very alone. I did not have support. We have, I think we're at about 500 docs right now, and it's all word of mouth. And so, I do that. And, every now and again, someone reaches out to me through LinkedIn or gets my email because they're going through it. And can I help them, with the process? Now, I'm not a claims adjuster. I'm not a lawyer. If I'm not the broker on their policy, I can't really help them with their policy, but I can say, okay, you know what? This is what happened to me. Start getting all your medical records in one place. Right? When they ask you questions, think about your worst day, not your best day. This isn't the time to be the superhero, right? And I care just as much as about the back end. We've had dozens of clients have to go out, and no matter which one of our producers gets spoken to, I take over all of those. They get my cell phone. I help walk them through. I'm there for support, and so there are different things that drive people here.
Sure. And it must be just very comforting, you being a doctor and understanding their world. And they must.
So.
Yeah. I mean, they must. I know. Listen, if I had MD or DO after my name, I'd be dangerous. I'd have that shit tattooed right here on my forehead. I can help, but I don't have those credentials. So I understand as much as I can, only working for 25 years in the industry with physicians and knowing what it's like to see what you know and what you don't know, and who are the right people that can help you, and how do you isolate people that you can really trust, which is such a big factor, especially when it comes to insurance. So I would like to encourage everybody to check out PearsonRavitz, which will be in the show notes. Look out for the episode. I have a lot of people that listen to both shows or watch both shows with the Broken Road to Mental Health and also the Doctor Whisperer, because I work with doctors. So that's what happens. That's what happens.
There's a lot of us are broken.
Right. Broken. We're on a road, and you have been on a road, and I'm so grateful that this broken road led me to you. And that you are doing things to really help our wonderful colleagues, physicians, advanced practitioners, and the like, to not have to go through, unfortunately, what you had to go through, but yes, to help others, to have that gift now to take your life and send it in a different direction. So, and shout out to your hubby and your dogs and your kids.
Thank you. I will let them know.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. And like I said, I'm happy. I have no secrets.
Good. We love that.
To share whatever you want.
The secrets only keep us sick.
I hear you.
That, everybody.
Amen.
Don't forget to mitigate risk. Visit 831b.com for more information.